talk about diversity, people think that it just applies to one race, one ethnicity, same color, truffles. What we need them to understand is that it applies to multiple races, multiple ethnicities, different flavor truffles. It also includes things like age, gender, sexual orientation, and a list of other characteristics. We're not even talking about things like microaggressions or unconscious bias. We're talking about a base level understanding of diversity. And this is really important to me. This is really important to me because before they called me chef, go back one slide please. Before they called me chef, they called me names like Fatso, Tubalaba, Aunt Jemima, and the N-word. This was my lived experience in my formative years. Now, as Chef Maria, French-trained pastry chef and owner of Beyond Decadence, I'm utilizing my pastry skills to bring a new understanding to diversity training, team building, and speaking engagements through desserts. Next slide. The problem? Diversity training is boring, and that's leading to a low retention rate, and individuals who don't understand what it is to be an ally or what equity is. And we need to solve this problem for corporations because it's costing them. Did you realize for every 1% increase in diversity equals a 3 to 9% increase in revenue, employee retention, and helps with recruiting? The way that we do this is this picture was taken at BMW. It's a diversity training with a dessert tasting infused. It's interactive, it's highly engaging, and it's delicious, and you can see that no one is asleep. And you might wonder, how does this happen? Well, first of all, each person receives a strategically crafted dessert which replicates key concepts for diversity, equity, inclusion, or engagement. The beauty happens is a surprise. They don't know the immediate significance of the dessert that they've received. And this element of surprise leads to extra engagement and a deeper understanding of the concepts being displayed. Remember we talked about our truffles? This is the first step in helping get past the one race, one ethnicity mentality. Next slide. You might say, well, who have you done this for? We've done a Supplier Diversity 101 e-learning project for Kimberly Clark. We've also done a project where we were, breakout session speaker at BMW where we did an interactive session and also received a $10,000 donation from billionaire Marcus Lemonis, which helped catapult our digital footprint with a website redesign, which allowed us to be scouted by the Today Show and appear on their show. We leverage the universal language of food in all three services across Fortune 500 companies in the mid to large size range across various industries. We have strategic partners available for scale as required by engagement. Next slide. We pioneered this approach, so there is no one else currently doing diversity training with dessert infused. So we're the only ones doing this, and that is our differentiator. Our services range in $40 up to $3,000. Please, next slide. Diversity market is valued at $3.4 billion up to $3,000. Please go. Our ask is, I'm Chef Maria Beyond Decadence, where everyone at our table belongs, and our ask is for you to consider us for procurement opportunities with your buyers, conference sponsorship where we can meet diversity professionals and trainers. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria, thank you for this presentation. How have you pivoted your business, if at all, given all the talk about DEI and the war on DEI? Are you doing anything differently in your business?
Mm-hmm. Yes. The question was how have I pivoted the business with all the scrutiny around DEI, getting into more speaking engagements, doing team building activities, and I think some of the language around DEI has changed, whereas inclusive belonging, diversity and inclusion. So some of the names have changed, but the work has remained the same. And I have lots of corporations that I'm currently talking to who are still committed, to doing the work with the new name, or some are keeping, the existing name.
I'm curious as far as it's an impressive group of clients that you've worked with. I'm really curious as how repeatable has the business been? And do you even have do you have a plan about how you can kind of continue those relationships with those businesses, even as you're acquiring others?
Yes, continuing the relationships with the business, that is a little bit tricky because diversity training can, I don't want to say it's a one and done, but trying to establish that relationship to have reoccurring as new employees are coming in or new, ERGs are being formed, to have an influx of individuals, new employees that come in that still need to, have the training. Because I think the biggest thing that we've run into is that, like I talked about, it's boring. And so we're losing a lot of the retention and lack of understanding because people are not tracking the information, so they don't have a practical application of it. So as those needs are becoming known, the people that don't understand are showing evidence, of change and forward motion, that more training still needs to be done, even if the name of what we call it changes.
Thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question. Are you a team of one? Like, how big is your team, and do you see your team scaling as your business grows?
Full-time team of one, but I have contractors available that I work with as required. And also I have strategic partnerships with other larger training companies, 2 that are WBENCs out of the Atlanta area that I have a solid relationship. So as opportunities that are beyond, who need more staff, those relationships are already in place and can be leveraged without hesitation.
Great, thank you, Shafan Maria. At the end of the session, what is the takeaway for attendees? What do they walk away with?
Thank you, John, for that question. The takeaway is that they have a solid understanding of what diversity is. They have a solid understanding of what equity versus equality is. I survey the attendees at the end of each session and say, what did you learn? What resonated? How did this make you feel when we went through, this particular exercise? And getting the feedback, I didn't understand that's what diversity was. The graphic that you showed of equity versus equality, I never understood it until now. And, we hear the word privilege all the time, and it becomes like a word that makes us bristle. But they understand that we all have privilege in different ways, and that doesn't make it a bad word, but we can use that privilege to be allies and show allyship to other underrepresented or marginalized individuals. So if I had to say 3 things, the feedback I hear is diversity, equity, and ally. It's a clear understanding so they have the correct definitions to put those things into action in their corporation.
Do you need, does it require a kitchen for this? I mean, when you're doing the training?
No, I'm so glad you asked that, DJ. Thank you. And I actually have that in my literature because I can hear that question in the back of, prospective clients' head, do I need to be in a kitchen? No, you do not need to be in a kitchen. It's an interactive experience. The slide that I showed that was up there was at BMW in one of their, actually was at the Greenville Convention Center. So it was just in a regular conference room. And thank you. Yeah, that one right there. And so it's an interactive experience. You can see, I did superimpose the desserts and make them a little larger so you can see them. But they're holding up desserts. It's a dessert tasting, and they're holding up the desserts, and we're going through the facilitated session of, whose was, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and talking through. So a kitchen is not required. The attendees are not actively baking or cooking. They're sitting down, and the element of surprise as the desserts are distributed is what adds to the experience and helps the concept resonate in a unique and non-boring, everybody's awake, nobody's playing with their phone way. Thank you, judges. Thank you,